I'll just tell you right off the bat, and you guys can see it. It's hanging right up there. That's number 52, Patrick Willis. So to me, and I know that Patrick, there's so much talk now about, would Patrick even be eligible for the Hall, considering he only played 7 full seasons, 8 overall, because of the toe injury, and just he was forced to retire really because of turf toe and just continuously having to deal with injury and with pain. And Patrick, just as he was, not only on the field but off of it, just the consummate professional and perfectionist that he was, he never wanted to play anything less than his best. And again, we know in football, guys play hurt all the time. They're nicked up, and they get bumps and bruises, and some of them are much more permanent and much more painful than others. But if he couldn't move the way that he felt like he needed to move to be as good as he wanted to be, then he needed to walk away. And so I just respect him so much for knowing that, if he could only give 75, 80%, which for all we know he could have. So he'd still be an amazing player, still probably Pro Bowl caliber player, even if he was at 75%, because that's how good Patrick Willis was. Again, I know I'm biased, and I say this a lot. I repeat myself a lot on this stuff because obviously I'm such a huge 49er fan, but I also am a fan of the game, and I like to analyze talent, and I like to look at how guys played in that specific era. And to me, there weren't any other linebacker, especially in on the interior, that ever played as fast, as technically sound as Patrick Willis. I mean, Patrick technically was an undersized guy. He's about 6'2", 6'3", 235, 240 pounds coming out of Ole Miss. So, he wasn't this prototypical, 6'2", 250, kind of, uh, what is it like what does Tim Ryan usually say? What is it? Rolling ball of butcher knives or whatever it is, like he wasn't this huge dude that was just going to absolutely truck everybody in his wake. He did, because his form tackling was so great, and he was so strong, and he just was such a great natural tackler. But it wasn't because he was the biggest guy. I mean, he was plenty big enough, but in his era, there were dudes that were 10, 15 pounds bigger than he was, and could move, maybe not as fast, but similarly. But to me, he was just the most complete one because he was so fast, and he was so technically sound, and he was so smart. I mean, Patrick was the first linebacker that I really remember, especially during an era where the tight end position started growing more and more. We'd start to see guys like Jimmy Graham come around. I'm kind of going a little bit back here, but guys like Jeremy Shockey, even, which again, in his time, overall, probably people wouldn't think, oh, that's such a great tight end. But in his time, for a time there, he was a really talented pass catcher. Antonio Gates, obviously, these kind of guys where they were such a focal point of their offenses, and things started to change in the NFL there in the mid 2000s all the way through obviously today. And Patrick was one of the few linebackers who could actually back up into coverage and do a really good job on these tight ends. He knew how to play in the box, but he also knew how to play in the pass game and pass protection. And so just to me, he was such a complete player. When you guys say sideline to sideline, you'd actually see it in a game where Patrick Willis would do that. So again, the 7-time Pro Bowler, I believe he was either a 6-time or a 7-time All Pro. So pretty much a Pro Bowler and an All Pro every single season where he played a full season. Again, his final season, he didn't play a full season, or second to last. And because of the injuries. And so that is really the only thing that hampered him, was injuries. It's the only thing that stopped him. And so for me, number 52 absolutely could be retired, and probably should be retired at some point. And then the one that I promised you guys, the honorable mention, would probably be a guy that I just love watching this guy play, even when the 49ers were horrible. And that is the great Bryant Young. So number 97. He won a Super Bowl as a rookie coming out of Notre Dame, and he was a starter too. He wasn't just a rookie that just happened to be there on that incredible 94 49ers team. He was a starter. He became a starter. And so Just such a talented player, but just such a classy, classy man, and a guy who went about his business much like Patrick did, in a way where all the rookies could see him as the example and then try to emulate that. And they still, I mean, to me, I still see that as, and see both those men as examples to the players we have coming up now, and to the guys, and you guys, you're talking about Fred Warner and the leaders in this locker room, like Fred, like George Kittle, like so many others, Trent Williams, these guys that they just know how to carry themselves, and of course they have the talent to back it up, and their game backs it up, which is obviously huge, is always super important, but it's their habits. People were talking about how CMC just goes all out. We're talking about that in OTAs, and they never realized that this guy, because technically this is the first time that he's going through a full offseason as a 49er, because we got him in the middle of last season. But you're talking about, guys just putting everything on the line. Fred Warner was pissing people off the last few years because of how hard he was going in practice. He was just hitting guys at close to game speed in practice, and guys were just weren't expecting it. So but those are the kinds of things where these guys understand that the habits that they build, that's just that muscle memory is going to be there on game day if they practice that hard. And so it's just that dedication to their craft, and to me, nobody dedicated himself more, whether the team was good or whether the team was in a full rebuild there at the end. When I watched him as one of the few bright spots on that 2004 2005 uh 49ers team, and to me, Bryant Young, just number 97. I think of 97, I think of Bryant Young. And, again, sorry, Nick Bosa. I know that's your number now. Now, obviously, I think about Nick, but the first guy that comes to mind, excuse me, is Bryant Young, just because he's just, again, iconic 49er, and someone who really exemplified what it meant to be a 49er, and he was here from beginning to end. So for me, those are my 2 guys. First and foremost, Patrick Willis, to me, just the great Patrick Willis, my favorite player, and then the incomparable, classy as it gets, number 97, Bryant Young. And so with that, I just wanna wrap it up, and again, shoot it back out to you all, the faithful. Please make sure that you check in, like, and subscribe if you could. I really, really appreciate that. And give me your thoughts. Give me who you would want to see retired, either on the current squad, in past squads. Just, give me your thoughts down below in the comments section. And with that, I will see you all really soon. Take care, faithful.